Marcus did not reach for Derek. He did not raise his voice. He knelt beside the discarded lock and picked it up with 2 fingers, feeling the fresh scrape marks along the metal where it had been forced out in a hurry. "This door was changed tonight," he said. Derek's smile thinned. "And you were hired to fix things, not give legal opinions." Tasha pressed her daughter closer. The child made a small wheezing sound, the kind that cut through every excuse in the hallway. Marcus looked at her face, then at the closed door, then at the neighbors watching from cracked openings like fear had turned them into shadows. He knew what the smart move was. Stay quiet. Keep the cover. Gather proof slowly. But a child's medicine was on the other side of that door. "I need my tools," Marcus said. Derek stepped in front of him. "Touch that lock and you're done here." Marcus opened his toolbox anyway. The hinges squeaked. Inside were wire cutters, a cordless drill, a roll of electrical tape, and a narrow emergency latch tool he had used years ago on construction sites. He could feel every eye in the hall. A teenage boy held up his phone until his mother pulled his wrist down. An older man muttered, "Don't get involved." Marcus slid the tool into the frame. Derek grabbed his shoulder. "I said leave it." Marcus turned just enough for Derek's hand to fall away. "There's a sick child inside this hallway, and her inhaler is behind this door. Fire me after she breathes." For 1 second, the words landed harder than a shout. Tasha covered her mouth. Derek's jaw worked like he was chewing glass. The latch clicked. The door opened 2 inches, then 5, then all the way. Warm apartment air spilled out, carrying the smell of baby lotion, laundry soap, and soup left cooling on the stove. Tasha rushed past him, nearly tripping over a stuffed backpack. "Maya, baby, hold on." Marcus stayed in the doorway. He did not enter until Tasha called from inside, "Top drawer, blue case." He stepped in, found the inhaler beside a folded school worksheet, and handed it to her. Tasha shook it once, pressed it to her daughter's lips, and counted under her breath. 1, 2, 3. The child's shoulders lifted, then dropped. The sound she made next was still weak, but it was air moving. Several neighbors exhaled at the same time. Derek did not. He pulled out his phone and typed quickly, "You just committed unauthorized entry into a reclaimed unit." Marcus looked at the little girl's bare feet and the plastic princess cup on the coffee table. "She lives here. Not after tonight." Derek turned to the watching doors. "Everybody listening? This is what happens when employees forget who signs their checks." He pointed at Marcus's name patch. "Mike, bring your badge to the office tomorrow. Your first week's pay is canceled for insubordination. And since you like helping so much, you can take basement duty until I decide whether to call the police." Tasha stood in the doorway with her daughter against her chest, eyes wet but steady. "I'll pay you back," she whispered to Marcus, as if kindness was a debt she was ashamed to owe. "No," Marcus said quietly. "Just keep every paper he ever gave you." Derek heard that. His head turned. "What did you say?" Marcus picked up the old lock from the floor and dropped it into his toolbox with a dull metal sound. "I said the hallway light on this floor is flickering. I'll check it before someone gets hurt." Derek stepped close enough for Marcus to smell mint gum on his breath. "You think you're different because you helped one crying mother? Men like you come and go. I run this place." Marcus lowered his eyes, not in fear, but to the red key ring hanging again from Derek's belt. The red key had a small white sticker on it now, half peeled, marked 3B in black ink. Derek saw his glance and tucked the keys into his pocket. "Basement," he said. "Now." The basement door was beside the laundry room, down a concrete stairwell that smelled of bleach, rust, and old water. Marcus switched on the light. Pipes trembled above him. The leak was worse than Derek had said, but still not urgent. What mattered was the corkboard near the maintenance sink. Work orders were pinned in messy layers. Broken heaters, mold complaints, jammed windows, locks replaced after midnight. Marcus pulled one free, then another, for different mothers, for different apartments, same handwriting, same phrase stamped across the top, voluntary vacate. Behind the boiler, A cardboard box sat half open. Inside were old deadbolts, each tagged with apartment numbers, each removed before any court date printed on the tenant notices. Marcus reached for his phone to photograph them. That was when the basement door slammed above him, and Derek's voice came through the metal, calm and smiling. "Careful down there, handyman. Some doors don't open from the inside." Marcus did not answer Derek through the door. He stood still in the basement with his phone in one hand and the tagged deadbolts at his feet, listening to the lock above him settle into place. The sound was small, almost polite, but it told him enough. Derek had not panicked. He had done this before. Marcus turned slowly, lifting his phone toward the corkboard, the cardboard box, the work orders, every scrap of paper that could disappear by morning. The first photo came out blurry because his hand was too tight around the phone. He forced his fingers loose and took another. Then another. A pipe knocked overhead, sending a tremor through the wall. Somewhere above him, a washing machine began to spin, heavy and uneven, like the building itself was trying to shake loose a secret. Marcus moved behind the boiler, crouched low, and found a narrow service panel half hidden by a stack of paint buckets. He had drawn these maintenance plans 12 years ago, back when his mother still walked the property with a clipboard and a thermos of coffee, asking residents whether the hallways felt safe at night. He pressed 2 fingers beneath the panel lip and pulled. Stuck, then opened with a dry scrape. Behind it was not a tunnel, only a crawl gap wide enough to reach the old electrical room. Marcus slid his toolbox through first, then lowered himself onto the concrete, shoulder scraping against brick. His work shirt caught on a nail and tore beneath the fake name patch. For a moment, the cloth peeled back and showed the small silver pin fastened inside his undershirt. Hale Community Housing. Owner access. He covered it quickly before squeezing through. The electrical room smelled like dust and warm wires. A weak emergency bulb glowed red above the breaker panel. Marcus stood, brushed concrete grit from his palms, and took out a second phone from inside the toolbox foam lining. This one had no crack screen, no temp agency sticker, no cheap case. He dialed one number. "Mr. Hale?" A woman answered before the first ring finished. "You told me not to call unless Malloy crossed a line." Marcus looked at the basement door through the wall, as if he could still see Derek smiling on the other side. He changed a mother's lock at night with a sick child inside. The woman went quiet. Her name was Evelyn Carter, attorney for the trust that owned Riverside Gardens on paper. "Tell me you have proof." "Some. Not enough." "Then do not reveal yourself." Marcus closed his eyes for half a second. That was the part that tasted bitter. "He locked me in the basement." "That helps your proof. It does not finish it." Papers shifted on Evelyn's end. "Derek's contract gives him operational authority. He has 3 years of clean audits, 2 city commendations, and a relationship with housing compliance. If you walk upstairs tonight and announce you're the owner without a complete chain of evidence, he'll call it a misunderstanding, fire his night porter, and bury the rest before sunrise." Marcus stared at the old breaker labels. His mother's handwriting was still there on yellowed tape. A hall, B hall, laundry, community room. Neat block letters. Patient. Permanent. People are being put out of homes I'm responsible for. Then build the case so he cannot put them out again. He heard the warning beneath her calm voice. Not because Evelyn lacked compassion, but because she knew how men like Derek survived. They did not win by being innocent. They won by making every victim look confused, late, angry, or ungrateful. Marcus ended the call and opened the electrical room door into the side alley. Cold air hit his face. Across the courtyard, Derek stood beneath the office light, speaking to 2 security guards and laughing softly as if the night had gone exactly his way. Tasha's apartment window was lit now. A small shadow moved behind the curtain, probably her daughter, probably alive because a door had opened in time. Marcus should have felt relief. Instead, he felt the weight of every other door that had not. He returned to the maintenance shed before Derek could see him. Inside, under a shelf of air filters, he found the old Hale toolbox his mother had kept here for emergencies. The leather handle was cracked. The brass latch was dull. On the inside of the lid, burned into the wood, was the same little house logo from the torn child's drawing near the office. 3 figures holding hands under one roof. Marcus touched it with his thumb, and dust marked his skin. Then he noticed something tucked behind the tray. An envelope, brittle with age, labeled in his mother's handwriting. Resident lock policy? Never remove without court order. Inside was a master log sheet from years ago, before Derek, before the fake policies, before the red keys. The official lock code column was empty beside apartment 3B, because no replacement had ever been approved. But at the bottom of the envelope, someone had recently written in black marker, "Red set, cash units only." Marcus photographed it, then froze. The handwriting was not Derek's. It was smaller, cleaner, the same handwriting from the voluntary vacate forms. Someone else had been building the machine with him. Outside, a car door shut. Derek's voice crossed the alley. "Find him. If that handyman took anything from my basement, I want his bag searched before morning." Marcus slid the envelope into the false bottom of the toolbox and snapped the latch closed. Now he knew why the secret could not come out yet. Derek was not the whole sickness. He was only the hand changing the locks. Marcus did not go back through the courtyard. He crossed the alley behind Building C, keeping the toolbox close to his leg, while security flashlights moved across the brick like slow white blades. At the end of the fence, a service gate opened into the public sidewalk, and beyond it the neighborhood changed within half a block. Riverside Gardens sat beside a strip of shuttered stores and payday loan signs. But 2 streets over, the city had polished itself. Glass apartment towers rose above valet stands. Private gym glowed blue behind spotless windows. Men in tailored coats walked dogs that wore better sweaters than most children at Riverside owned. Marcus stopped outside the Hale Community Housing office downtown just before midnight. The building had his last name carved into pale stone over the lobby, but he entered through the loading entrance in a torn handyman shirt. The night guard looked up from his desk, saw the toolbox, and pointed toward the freight elevator without asking for identification. That small mistake told Marcus everything about the world his mother had tried to fight. A man in work clothes could carry secrets through a rich building because nobody wanted to look at him long enough to wonder. Upstairs, Evelyn Carter waited in a conference room with lights too bright for the hour. A wall of framed awards hung behind her: Community Redevelopment, Fair Housing Leadership, Urban Renewal Partnership. Derek's smiling face appeared in one of the photos beside a city housing inspector named Angela Price, both holding a plaque over a ribbon-cutting banner. Marcus stared at it. "She's the handwriting," he said. Evelyn followed his eyes. "Angela?" Marcus opened the toolbox and laid out the envelope, the lock photos, and the work orders in a careful line. "Maybe. I need a sample." "You need more than a sample," Evelyn said. "You need a resident willing to put her name on record, a pattern of illegal lockouts, and proof that Derek profited." She slid a leather folder across the table. Inside was a calendar invitation for the next morning. Emergency Tenant Compliance Review, 9 a.m., Riverside Gardens Community Room. Derek had already requested it. "He's moving first," Evelyn said. Marcus looked at the words until they sharpened. "He's going to make the mothers look like trouble before they can speak." "Yes." Evelyn tapped the folder. "And if you reveal ownership there without evidence, he controls the story. Rich owner fires black manager after tenant complaints. He will turn himself into the victim by lunch." Marcus closed the folder. "Then I don't enter as the owner." "Marcus, I enter as the handyman he accused." By morning, Riverside Gardens looked different. Not safer, just staged. Derek had ordered the courtyard swept. The broken hallway light Marcus had mentioned was suddenly fixed. A folding table stood in the community room with bottled water, printed packets, and a sign-in sheet. Angela Price arrived in a cream blazer, carrying a tablet and a smile that did not reach her eyes. She shook Derek's hand first. "We appreciate management acting quickly," she said loud enough for the room to hear. Tasha sat in the second row with Maya asleep against her chest. Other mothers came in quietly, holding folders, rent receipts, school backpacks, diaper bags. Fear made them neat. They had dressed like people going to court, even though they were only walking into their own community room. Marcus came through the side door with a ladder on his shoulder and a maintenance badge clipped to his pocket. Derek's head turned at once. Surprise flashed, then irritation. You were suspended. Marcus set the ladder beneath the projector mounted to the ceiling. You told me basement duty. Projectors tied to the same breaker. Angela looked him up and down. Is this the employee from your incident report? Derek's smile returned. Yes. Unauthorized entry. Possible theft. Inappropriate tenant contact. The room shifted. A few residents looked at Marcus differently. Tasha opened her mouth, but Marcus gave the smallest shake of his head. Not yet. Angela folded her arms. Then let's test his usefulness. The projector hasn't worked in months. If he's here, fix it before we begin. It was meant to embarrass him. Marcus climbed the ladder with a screwdriver between his fingers while Derek watched, waiting for him to fail in front of everyone. The projector cover came loose. Inside, the HDMI cable had been cut cleanly and tucked behind the bracket. Not worn. Cut. Marcus held the severed end between two fingers. That's strange, he said. This didn't break. Derek's face hardened. Angela's tablet paused mid-tap. Marcus reached into his toolbox, took out a spare cable, and connected it to the room computer. The screen flickered, then filled the wall with the login page for Riverside Gardens management files. Derek stepped forward too fast. I'll handle that. But Nia Brooks, sitting in the back row with a legal pad on her lap and tired eyes that missed nothing, stood before he could reach the keyboard. Actually, she said, holding up a folded notice with a forged signature. Before management handles anything else, I have a question about who changed the locks on apartment 3B. Marcus kept one hand on the ladder and watched Derek notice her for the first time. Not as a tenant, not as a mother, but as a risk. Angela lowered Nia's folded notice without touching it, as if paper from a tenant could stain her fingers. There is a process for questions, she said. Nia did not sit down. There was supposed to be a process for evictions too. A murmur moved through the room, soft at first, then sharper as mothers opened folders on their laps. Derek lifted both hands, wearing the patient smile of a man pretending to calm people he had already harmed. This is exactly the behavior I warned the city about, he said. Hostility, confusion, refusal to follow policy. Marcus stayed on the ladder, his face half hidden by the projector casing. From that height, he could see what Derek could not. Nia had arranged her papers by date, not by emotion. Rent receipts, email confirmations, a clinic appointment card from the night Maya needed her inhaler. She was not begging. She was building a timeline. Projector works now, Marcus said. If you want the policy on screen, I can pull up the file. Derek snapped. No, too fast. Angela's eyes moved to him. That tiny mistake opened the first crack. Marcus climbed down and wiped his hands on a rag. Then maybe the residents should be given printed copies. He turned to the room like a worker asking permission, not a man giving orders. Anybody got notices with dates? For a second, nobody moved. Then Tasha stood and held out one paper. Another mother followed. Then another. Soon Marcus had 6 notices spread across the folding table while Derek watched the room slip an inch out of his control. Marcus did not argue law. He measured details. Same printer streak down the left side. Same crooked stamp. Same phrase, voluntary vacate. But each woman had a different story, different rent status, different apartment. This stamp, Marcus said quietly to Nia, came from the office printer, not city court. Nia leaned closer, and for the first time her guarded face changed. Not relief yet. Recognition. You know printers? I know patterns. She slid him a notice from apartment 2D. Then look at this pattern. The tenant's signature was smooth, too smooth, spelling a last name wrong. Marcus looked at the woman in the second row. Ma'am, is this yours? She shook her head, gripping a diaper bag so hard the strap twisted. My name is Patrice Bell. They spelled it Bell. Nia wrote it down. Derek moved toward the table. These documents are property of management. Marcus put one grease-darkened hand over the papers. Not aggressively, firmly. They were handed to residents. Angela stepped between them. Mr. Malloy, let him finish sorting. It will make the record cleaner. Derek stared at her, surprised she had not protected him outright. That was another clue. Angela was not loyal to Derek. She was loyal to whatever version of events could still survive. Marcus took the red key from memory and asked, "Who here had a new lock installed before receiving a court notice?" Her hands rose, then 7. Tasha lifted hers last, her other arm around Maya, who was awake now and watching Marcus with solemn eyes. From her backpack, the child pulled the purple crayon drawing that had been torn from the office sign. She had fixed the ripped corner with clear tape. 3 stick figures under one roof. Above them, in crooked letters, she had written, "Our door." She walked it to Marcus without a word. He took it carefully. The little house logo matched the one inside his mother's toolbox. For a moment, the room noise thinned. This building had been designed around that promise, and a child had understood it better than the people paid to protect it. Marcus folded the drawing once and tucked it into the front pocket of his work shirt, where the fake name patch hung loose from the tear. Nia noticed the careful way he handled it. "Why do you care this much?" she asked under her breath. Marcus looked at the mothers, the notices, the broken projector cable, the children sitting too quietly beside packed bags. "Because locks are supposed to keep danger out," he said. "Not families." It was a small answer, but it landed. Nia handed him her legal pad. "Then help me prove the dates." Marcus connected the room computer to the projector again, bypassing Derek's login with the public maintenance portal. Not private files. Not stolen access. Just repair logs, the kind Derek thought nobody read. The wall filled with work orders. Lock replacement, 3B, 2:13 a.m. Lock replacement, 2D, 1:46 a.m. Lock replacement, 4A, 12:58 a.m. A hush fell so hard even Derek stopped breathing for a beat. It was not enough to convict anyone, but it was enough to show the mothers were not lying. Tasha covered her mouth. Patrice whispered, "That's my door." Angela's smile disappeared into a straight line. Derek stepped back and typed something on his phone with both thumbs. Marcus saw only a few words before Derek angled the screen away. "Need item planted. Search his toolbox." Marcus looked down at the toolbox beside his boots. The old brass latch was closed, the child's drawing warm against his chest, and the whole room had just learned the first piece of truth. Across the table, Derek lifted his eyes and smiled at him again. But this time the smile had no mask left in it. The smile reached Derek's mouth but not his hands. His thumbs kept moving beneath the table, quick and practiced, while Angela cleared her throat and tried to pull the room back into order. "The maintenance logs are not eviction records," she said. "They do not prove misconduct by management." Derek nodded slowly, as if the words had wounded him, but he was too professional to show it. "Exactly, and I think we need to address something uncomfortable." He turned toward the mothers, softening his voice. "I know people are scared. I know housing is emotional, but fear can make people follow the wrong person." His eyes slid to Marcus. "A man none of you knew yesterday walked in here, accessed building systems, encouraged residents to challenge policy, and now we are supposed to believe he is some kind of hero." Marcus said nothing. He watched Derek's left hand. The gold watch tapped twice against the table. A signal. The community room door opened, and 2 security guards stepped inside with a woman from the leasing office, Carla, walking between them. Carla held a plastic evidence bag in both hands. Inside was a silver bracelet with a tiny heart charm. Tasha's hand went to her bare wrist. "That's mine," she whispered. Derek looked almost sad. "Miss Reed reported jewelry missing after last night's unauthorized entry." Tasha's face changed. "No, I didn't." Derek tilted his head. "You told Carla you couldn't find it." Carla would not look at Tasha. Her makeup was careful, her blouse buttoned high, her employee badge shining under the lights. "She said it was gone," Carla murmured. I asked if the handyman had been inside. The room shifted again, but this time away from Marcus. A missing bracelet was simple. A man entering a woman's apartment was simple. Much simpler than fake notices, red keys, and midnight lockouts. Derek understood people trusted simple stories when they were tired. One guard walked to Marcus's toolbox. Open it. Nia stepped forward. Not without documenting who touched it first. Angela lifted a hand. This is a workplace matter. Then make a workplace record, Nia said. Her voice shook once, then steadied. Write the time. Write the names. Write who brought the bag in. Derek's smile tightened. You see? This is what I mean. Suddenly every normal procedure becomes a courtroom. Marcus finally crouched beside the toolbox. The brass latch was still closed. A thin line of dust sat across the lid from the projector repair. But near the right corner, just above the hinge, he saw something new. A crescent-shaped smear of pale lotion. Carla used that same coconut lotion. He had smelled it when she passed the notices around. He looked at her hands. Clean but nervous. She kept rubbing her thumb against her palm. I'll open it, Marcus said. But first, Miss Brooks is right. Everybody look at the latch. A few residents leaned in. It's closed, Patrice said. Dust lines broken on the side. Nia added, catching on. Marcus nodded. Somebody opened it after I set it down. Derek laughed once. Listen to yourself. Marcus lifted the lid. The bracelet sat on top of his drill case like it had been placed for a photograph. Too clean. Too visible. Too easy. Tasha made a small sound, not because she believed it, but because she knew how fast a room could turn on a black man in a work shirt when an accusation had jewelry in it. One security guard reached for Marcus's arm. Marcus did not pull away. He picked up a roll of blue painter's tape from the toolbox and tore off a strip with his teeth. Then he pressed it lightly against the lotion smear on the hinge and stuck the tape to a blank page from Nia's legal pad. What are you doing? Angela asked. Preserving what somebody forgot they left. Derek's face hardened. Enough. Remove him. The guard took Marcus by the elbow. Nia stepped between them and the mothers rose, not in chaos, but one by one, chairs scraping like a warning. Derek pointed toward Tasha. This is why families like this lose housing. They protect thieves and then blame management. That sentence did what the bracelet could not. It humiliated the whole room. Tasha stood frozen, Maya's drawing still folded in Marcus's pocket. Her child watching adults decide whether their home was worth the truth. Marcus let the guard pull him toward the door. Fighting would make Derek's story cleaner. Instead, he looked at Nia and said only, check the hallway camera outside the maintenance closet. Johnson. Apartment 3B, Reed. Each name landed with a muffled sound from inside. A gasp, a chair leg scraping, a child asking a question too young to understand. Marcus kept his hands open at his sides. The guard on his left wanted him angry. Marcus could feel it in the grip, the extra pressure at the elbow, the hope that one wrong move would turn a planted bracelet into a full report. So he stayed still. When they reached the lobby, Carla was waiting near the mailboxes, pretending to sort envelopes that were already sorted. Her eyes were red. Marcus looked at her hands. The coconut lotion smell was there again, sweet and sharp. Derek told you he'd protect your job, Marcus said quietly. Carla's fingers froze over apartment 4A. I don't know what you're talking about. He won't. She swallowed but did not turn around. My son's daycare voucher comes through this job. I can't lose it. There it was. Not evil. Leverage. Marcus did not soften the truth, but he lowered his voice. Then don't let him make you the person who loses everything for him. One guard shoved Marcus toward the glass doors. Keep walking. Marcus stepped outside without fighting. The doors locked behind him with a clean electronic click. For the first time since he entered Riverside Gardens, he was standing on the outside of his own building. Across the courtyard, mothers were already coming out of the community room. Some held papers. Some held children. Tasha walked slowly, Maya's backpack dragging from her hand, her face emptied by exhaustion. Nia came out last, jaw tight, legal pad pressed against her chest. She saw Marcus through the glass but did not rush to him. That hesitation hurt more than the accusation. Not because she believed Derek completely, but because Marcus had hidden enough truth to make doubt possible. He had owned the building while they were being hunted inside it. The weight of that sat on him heavier than any guard's hand. A small figure slipped from behind Tasha's coat. Maya. She ran to the lobby glass and pressed something against it from the inside. Her taped drawing. 3 figures under one roof. Our door. Marcus lifted his hand to the drawing through the glass. Palm to palm with a child and a promise he had failed to protect. Then he saw it. In the corner of Maya's drawing, where she had colored the handyman's belt, there was a red shape hanging beside the toolbox. A red key. Not in Derek's pocket. On Carla's badge lanyard. Maya had drawn what adults had missed. Marcus turned sharply toward the parking lot. Carla had a red key too. That meant the key ring was not Derek's private tool. It was a system. He stepped off the curb, walked past the dumpsters, and found the maintenance closet window cracked open behind a metal grate. From outside, he could see the corner of the camera above it, angled toward the hallway door. If Nia could access that footage before Derek wiped it, Carla's walk to the toolbox would be there. But Derek had already started the purge. Through the window, Marcus saw the office printer spitting pages into the tray. 14 final notices. A stack of new lock tags lay beside them. Red stickers. Marcus took out the second phone and called Evelyn. File the injunction now. With what? Pattern of illegal lockouts, planted evidence, and pending destruction of records. Marcus. Pending destruction is hard to prove. He looked at the printer, then at the mothers standing under the courtyard lights with children pressed against their coats. Then I'm going to prove it before dawn. He ended the call and moved to the rear service door. The keypad still used the old emergency override his mother had insisted on for firefighters and locked-out families. Derek had changed policies, locks, paperwork, people, but not the bones of the building. Marcus entered the code. The light flashed green. Inside, the office was empty except for the hum of the printer and the smell of hot toner. He did not go to Derek's desk. Too obvious. He went to the maintenance computer, plugged in a small recovery drive from his toolbox, and began copying the public camera cache before the system could overwrite. Files crawled across the screen. 839. Hallway. 841. Maintenance closet. 842. Carla entering with empty hands. 844. Carla leaving with one hand inside her blazer. Footsteps sounded beyond the office door. Marcus pulled the drive free too early. The file transfer warning flashing red. The copy might be damaged. It might be enough. He slipped the drive into the hollow handle of the old toolbox just as the door opened and Derek walked in holding the red key ring. This time, Angela Price was behind him. I was hoping you'd break in, Derek said softly. Marcus looked at the printer tray, the lock tags, Angela's tablet already recording, and the half-hidden fear on Carla's face behind them. The old quiet plan was gone. By stepping back inside, he had crossed the line between investigation and open war. He closed the toolbox latch and said, Good. Then let's stop pretending this is about a bracelet. Derek's smile held for 3 seconds. Then Marcus lifted the toolbox and set it on the desk between them. Call the residents back, he said. Angela gave a short laugh. You are in no position to give instructions. Marcus looked at her tablet. Then record this clearly. If I touched private files, you'll have it. If your inspector helped destroy eviction records, you'll have that too. Angela's finger hovered over the screen. Derek stepped closer. You think a broken handyman with a stolen bracelet can threaten us? Marcus opened the hollow handle and removed the recovery drive. No. But timestamps can. The first crack came from Carla. She whispered, Derek, I didn't agree to records being destroyed. Angela's head turned too fast. Marcus saw it and knew the chain had finally pulled tight. Within 20 minutes, the community room was full again. This time nobody sat neatly. Mothers stood in the aisles. Children leaned against folded tables. Security stayed by the walls, unsure whose orders still mattered. Nia entered with Evelyn Carter on speakerphone. her legal pad open, her voice hard from holding fear all night. Marcus placed the projector cable back into the port with steady hands. The same wall where Derek had tried to read eviction names now glowed blue with camera files. Derek folded his arms. "This is illegal. He broke into my office." Marcus clicked the first clip. Hallway outside the maintenance closet. 8:41 a.m. On screen, the leasing office door opened. Carla walked out with nothing in her hands. She looked over both shoulders before stepping into the maintenance closet. Nia held up the sign-in sheet. At that exact time, Mr. Hale's toolbox was in the community room, under the projector ladder, in view of 12 residents. Derek snapped, "Mr. Who?" The room caught the name, but Marcus did not answer yet. He clicked the next clip. Carla left the closet with her right hand hidden inside her blazer. The room murmured.
Tasha touched her bare rist.
Carla began to cry. He said it was just to scare him. He said nobody would get arrested. Derek pointed at her. Disgruntled employee. She's lying to save herself. Marcus placed the strip of painter's tape on the table, sealed inside a plastic sleeve from Nia's folder. Lotion residue from the toolbox hinge. Carla's brand is on the leasing desk. Not proof alone, but it matches the video. Nia added the next layer, the forged notices. Patrice Bell stood and spelled her name aloud while the projected form showed it wrong. 3 other mothers did the same. Angela tried to interrupt, but Evelyn's voice came through the phone speaker. "Inspector Price, please state for the recording whether you certified these notices as compliant before or after confirming tenant signatures." Angela's lips parted. No answer came. Marcus clicked again. Maintenance logs filled the wall. Lock changes at 12:58, 1:46, 2:13 in the morning, each before any court order. Then he placed the red sticker lock tags beside the old master policy from his mother's envelope. Riverside policy required court orders before lock removal. These tags were prepared tonight for 14 more families. Derek laughed, but the sound was thin. "You're a temp worker reading policies you don't understand." Marcus finally removed the loose name patch from his shirt. The fake name peeled away, revealing the torn fabric beneath. He reached inside and clipped the silver owner access pin where everyone could see it. "My name is Marcus Hale." Silence hit the room so hard the projector fan sounded loud. "My family trust owns Riverside Gardens. And before anyone believes me, Ms. Carter has already verified the trust documents with the city housing office and sent them to every resident email on file." Phones began lighting up across the room. Mothers looked down, then up again. Derek's face lost color, but he recovered enough to speak. "He set me up. This was a personal attack." Marcus did not raise his voice. "Then explain the cash units." He projected the final file, photos from the basement box, the red key log, apartment numbers, cash initials, and Derek's own text message mirrored from Carla's phone. "Need item planted. Search his toolbox." Carla had forwarded it to Nia 5 minutes earlier with shaking hands and a one-line statement. "I'm done lying." Derek stared at the message as if betrayal had a shape. Angela stepped backward toward the exit. Tasha blocked the aisle, not touching her, just standing there with Maya's backpack in her hand. Nia looked at Marcus. "Ask him about the red keys." Marcus lifted the red key ring Derek had left on the office desk when panic made him careless. How many families did this open before court ever heard their names? Derek opened his mouth. Nothing useful came out. The mothers did not cheer. The truth was too heavy for cheering. It moved through the room in sobs, in covered mouths, in children finally seeing adults believe them. Marcus turned to the residents, not Derek. "Every lockout connected to these keys is void tonight." Derek lunged for the projector, but a security guard caught his arm. The same guard who had dragged Marcus out now held Derek still. On the wall behind them, the text message remained bright and undeniable. The lie had been said in public. Now the proof was public too, and no one in that room could unsee it. Derek did not leave Riverside Gardens in handcuffs that night, but he left without keys. That mattered more to the people watching. A city investigator took the red ring from the security guard, counted each key into an evidence bag, and sealed it in front of the room. Angela Price tried to call it a misunderstanding until Evelyn Carter's voice came through the speaker again, asking why her approval code appeared on 14 lockout files she had not inspected. Angela stopped speaking after that. Carla stood near the wall with both hands folded, crying quietly, but Nia did not let the room turn her tears into innocence. "You will write what you did," she said, sliding a blank statement form across the table. "Every date, every instruction, every resident name." Carla looked at Tasha.
I'm sorry.
Tasha held Maya closer. "Be sorry on paper first." Marcus heard that and bowed his head. It was the right kind of mercy. Not soft, not cruel, clean. By sunrise, the final notices were shredded in the community room trash can. Not secretly, but one by one while the families watched. Marcus did not promise miracles. He signed emergency orders restoring every lease that had been touched by the red key system. He paid for locksmiths to replace every illegal lock, but this time each mother received 2 keys in her own hand, with a written receipt and a witness signature. Tasha got apartment 3B back before Maya's school bus came. When Marcus walked her upstairs, the hallway was still ugly under fluorescent light, still smelled like old paint and boiled coffee, but her door opened with the sound a door should make when it belongs to someone. Inside, Maya ran straight to the drawer where her inhaler had been. Tasha stayed at the threshold. "You owned this place the whole time," she said. Marcus did not defend himself. "Yes, and we were begging a man you trusted." The words did not shout. They did worse. They stood there. Marcus nodded. "I can't undo that." "No," Nia said from behind them, holding the folder of copied evidence against her coat. "You can't." For a moment, Marcus thought she would walk away from him, and part of him knew she had earned that right. Instead, she took a pen from her pocket and handed it to him. "But you can sign something that makes sure no owner after you can hide behind a manager again." 3 weeks later, the community room looked different. The folding tables were still there, but now they held legal clinic flyers, tenant rights handbooks, coffee, juice boxes, and a binder labeled resident review board. Marcus sat at the side table, not at the front. Nia stood at the front because she had written the policy with the mothers, not for them. No lock could be changed. Without a court order, resident notice, independent review, and a 24-hour emergency appeal line. Maintenance logs would be visible to residents. Complaints could not be deleted by management. Angela was suspended pending investigation. Derek faced charges for fraud, illegal lockouts, forged documents, and retaliation. Carla kept her job only after agreeing to testify and completing a probation plan under resident oversight. Nobody clapped for that. Accountability was not applause. It was paperwork, witnesses, and a door that stayed open. When Marcus offered Nia the permanent director role for resident protection, she read every line before answering. "I don't work as your conscience," she said. "I work for them." Marcus changed the contract. Independent authority. Public reporting. No owner override. Only then did she sign. Tasha signed next as the first resident board chair, her name steady where Derek had once tried to erase it. Near the end of the meeting, Maya walked to the front carrying her taped drawing. The purple crayon house was wrinkled now. The corner still showed the handyman with the red key on someone else's belt. Marcus knelt so she would not have to look up at him. "Can we put it back?" she asked. "Not by the office," Nia said gently. "In the office." So they framed it in simple black wood and hung it behind the new resident desk, above a row of real keys sealed in numbered envelopes, each one signed out in public. The drawing no longer looked like a child asking for a home. It looked like a rule. That evening, when the hallway lights came on, mothers carried groceries inside without checking over their shoulders. Children dragged scooters across the courtyard until someone called them in for dinner. Marcus stood by the office window in his work shirt, the fake name patch gone, the toolbox at his feet. Tasha passed with Maya asleep against her shoulder and paused long enough to say, "Good night, Mr. Hale." Not warm, not forgiven, but no longer afraid. Marcus accepted that. Some doors open quickly. Trust does not. He looked at the framed drawing, at the three figures under one roof, and finally understood what his mother had tried to build. A home was not a gift from a powerful man. It was a promise powerful people were never allowed to break.